Namaste everyone, I am your co-host Shravani ma'am. Welcome to your favorite learning channel. The topic for today's video is Poultry Farming Part 2. So in our previous video, that is the part 1 of poultry farming, we had talked about the overview of poultry farming and also we had seen different types of poultry. So today in continuation with our previous video, we would be talking about the cross breeding technique that is performed in poultry farming and why the cross breeding is necessary or it is important to be followed during poultry farming. Okay, so first we would be talking about cross breeding that is done in poultry farming. So what is cross breeding now? So cross breeding, it is what? It is the mating. What happens here? Here mating takes place. Okay, so this is the mating of animals. Okay, or we can say organisms. Okay, of different breeds. Okay, so what happens? Different breeds of poultry are crossbred. That means they are crossed or they are allowed to mate with each other. This technique is called crossbreeding. And why this crossbreeding is important? It is actually a valuable means. It is a valuable means for what? It is a valuable means of introducing the desirable characters. Okay, so this technique helps in introduction of the desirable characters into the new breed, in which the introduced characters were not previously present. They were not present previously. Okay, so this is the technique of cross breeding. Okay, so the cross breeds exhibit increased growth and vigor. Okay, so what happens in cross breeds? In cross breeds, what we can see, there is increased growth and increased vigor. Okay, and why does the crossbreeds have increased growth and vigor? Because there is a blend of desirable dominant genes from two breeds in the first generation. Okay, so we select two breeds depending on the traits that are most desirable from the two different breeds and then they are mated amongst each other. So this crossbreeding can be done naturally, that is by the natural course of mating between two different breeds, or it can be artificially done, called artificial insemination, in which the male spermatozoa are taken from the male reproductive tract and it is mechanically introduced into the female reproductive tract. So by this mechanical means, that is by artificially introducing the male spermatozoa into the female reproductive tract, new organisms can be created and this is done artificially, hence it is called artificial insemination. And in the natural course of mating that is performed between two different breeds, it is called the natural way of crossbreeding. Okay, and the artificial means is called the artificial insemination. Now let's see how does this crossbreeding help? So it helps in the improvement. What it does is it improves. So the improvement in what? Improvement can be seen in improvement in the poultry variety. Okay. So what happens? There are various programs of crossbreeding. Okay. So various programs are there. Programs of what? Of cross breeding are present, and this crossbreeding is done between they can be done between the indigenous and the exotic breeds. Okay, so we make the crossbreeding between two breeds depending on the kind of traits we want to see in the next generation. So the crossbreeding can be done between the indigenous and the exotic breeds, okay, to improve, and this is to improve new varieties, to improve the new varieties, okay, for obtaining the desirable traits. Okay, so for this purpose crossbreeding is important. So these improvement programs mainly concentrate on three main desirable traits. So the three main desirable traits on which the improvement programs are based, or these improvement programs mainly concentrate. Okay, so the three main desirable traits on which the improvement programs mainly concentrate are, what are these three main desirable traits? One is the requirement of low maintenance. Then the second desirable trait is the quality as well as the quantity. The quantity of the chicks. Then the third trait is the improvement. It includes the improvement in egg production, and this is by reducing the size of the layer. Okay, so these are the main desirable traits on which the improvement programs mainly concentrate. So the maintenance of temperature is needed for better egg production by poultry birds, and hence what happens is larger size and no adaptability to summer may cause a decline in egg production. Okay, so to obtain the smaller size and high summer adaptability, crossbreeding of poultry birds is done, and small size is also needed for better housing and low feed. Okay, so these are the main advantages for which it is preferred, or sometimes it is preferred, that crossbreeding is done. Okay, so now let's quickly revise the things that we have covered today. So we today spoke about the crossbreeding that is performed during poultry farming. Okay, so what is crossbreeding? So it is actually the mating of animals or organisms that belong to different breeds. So this crossbreeding technique is a valuable means for what? For introducing desirable characters into the new breeds in which the introduced characters were not present previously. Okay, so what happens is the crossbreeds actually show increased growth as well as increased vigor, and this is due to the blend of desirable dominant genes from two breeds in the first generation. So this crossbreeding can either take place by natural means, that is by natural course of mating between different breeds of organisms or different breeds of poultry, or it can be done artificially, in which case we introduce mechanically, that is artificially or mechanically, the male spermatozoa is introduced into the female reproductive tract of a different breed of poultry. So this is called artificial insemination. Okay, now what happens due to crossbreeding? There is improvement in poultry variety. So there are various programs of crossbreeding that is done between the indigenous and the exotic breeds. We had already studied about the indigenous and exotic breeds in our previous video. So these various programs of crossbreeding that are performed between the indigenous and exotic breeds of poultry, they are actually performed to improve the new varieties by obtaining the desirable traits. Now there are three main desirable traits. Okay, there are three main desirable traits on which the improvement programs mainly concentrate. Okay, so there are three main desirable traits on which the improvement programs mainly concentrate, and these traits are the requirement of low maintenance, the quality and quantity of chicks, and the improvement in egg production by reducing the size of the layer. So these are the main desirable traits on which the several improvement programs that we talked about, they mainly focus on these three desirable traits. So the maintenance of temperature is needed for better egg production by poultry birds. Therefore, larger size and no adaptability to summer may cause a decline in egg production. So, in order to obtain the smaller size and high summer adaptability, we can perform crossbreeding of poultry birds. Okay, and also the small size is needed for better housing and low feed. So in order to get our desirable traits in new varieties, we perform this crossbreeding between two different breeds of poultry. Okay, so I hope you all would have got some great insights by watching today's video. Please do not forget to like and share the video. Till then, thank you for watching.